Hello Dreamers, Eugene the author here, and it has been a nightmare getting everything set up to record here. So as you can tell from the fact that I'm using my green screen, I am back home. What is this? Shadow bathes in light and knows weakness. Okay. I think I know what dungeon this is. Yeah, I'm back home now, and good gracious, it's been a pain. And I think I want to go down those stairs because what I had started doing. Well, I have to pick a fight with these guys. What I started doing is recording my face cam separate from my game cam, which allowed me to fix things in post and make all kinds of changes that I couldn't make otherwise. I mean, is this a hidden wall? I normally just run this dungeon straight up, and so it's kind of just interesting to see what other things are there. I whiffed. I thought that she was going to just swing the thing straight down. As much as I use the jumping R2, you would think that I would know that it's not straight down, but it's been a while. But anyways, yes, I started recording my face cam and my gameplay cam separately so I could change things in post, fix things in post, avoid that annoying situation of not realizing that your face cam was covering something important until after the fact. But and that works out really easy when you don't use a green screen to record. When you do use a green screen to record, adding the green screen in post is an absolute nightmare. I use DaVinci Resolve to record. Oh yeah, I forgot my Elden Ring on my desktop has a weird hitching problem that I feel like is specifically an NVIDIA thing. Because anytime I play Elden Ring on an AMD card, I never have the hitching occur. Come to me. Come to me.
Get over here!
Yeah, no, I learned that setting up... What are you doing? Okay. Okay. This doesn't bode well for later, because there's a enemy that I need to goad into walking into one of these golden circles. Hopefully the AI is not just completely dumb. Anyways, long story short, setting up the green screen in post is an absolute pain in the butt. And I learned how to do it, but good gracious, it took some doing. So hopefully, I'm a little nervous to record this way because, like I said, it was just terrible trying to make the tech work with me. I looked at a lot of different videos and a lot of different ways to do it, and I settled on one that I think works for me pretty well. But I'm a little nervous to... Oh my gosh, I forgot to start my timers. I'm a mess. I'm a little nervous to do this recording because I really don't want to lose any footage. I gotta remember the order to do this in, because obviously, like, I need to go and get dude's attention, but I need to go up there also. Let's go ahead and just climb. Okay. Yeah, I was like, I should probably get rid of these guys so I don't get grabbed when I'm not paying attention.
I gotta say, his trust and his wisdom will be rewarded. Oh!
But yeah, no, that's the thing. I just really don't want to go through the effort of recording all this content and then find out that I can't use the footage. So I did myself a smart guy favor, and I did make a backup of my save file just in case I do all this recording and it's all for naught. So we're in the Sainted Hero's grave, and everything, like I said before, everything in Elden Ring is done intentionally. And so I'm really curious. First off, like, obviously the most obvious question is, who was the Sainted Hero, right? Like, we had a dungeon that we played previously that talked about a broadsword wielder who... Let's just explore a little. A broadsword wielder who had a great vengeance that they wanted to carry out. And so then we have this Sainted Hero's grave, which is very curious for a lot of reasons, right? Okay, so this just runs all the way back up. You'll have to forgive me, I've not run this dungeon in a while, so I'm a little turned around on the order in which one is meant to do things. Like, why would I go up there beyond? Well, I guess just go inside of that fog gate to get whatever little trinkets in there. What was I saying? Oh, right. It's interesting that the Sainted Hero's grave is being protected by a Black Knife assassin. As we know, the Black Knives were employed by Ranni to have her Knight of Knives, where she had Godwyn assassinated so that she could avoid her fate that she didn't wish to be forced into. You know, which is implied a marriage that she didn't want, and a life serving a will not her own. And so then we also have the Black Knife, the remnants of the Black Knives in kind of weird spots, right? Like we have a Black Knife assassin that's resting in front of Marika's throne room, which is, there's so much to consider about that. And she's specifically resting, you know, between, oh, these guys. I hate these guys so much. It's the combo where they just start slapping you viciously that I'm horrible at dodging. And I'm really good at walking into poison, apparently. I would like to not start this with a whiff. I would like to not start this with a whiff. I'm just gonna read. I would like to not start this with a whiff. Okay. Can I blame the jet lag? Is that a thing I can do? Oh, right, let's try that again. Because now I want some revenge. Mr. Slappy Hands. Oh, come on. Yeah. How about a little vengeance?
Do you know the Klingon proverb that tells us revenge is a dish that is best served cold?
As I was saying before I was so rudely interrupted, the Black Knife assassin that is in Altus is unique because she's in Marika's throne room, right? And she's positioned nearby. She's positioned after you fight Godwyn. Godwyn? Horalu? Godric? Gosh, all the names are so hard to keep track of.
Now, say my name.
Godwyn, Godric, Godfrey. She's positioned after you fight Godfrey. So this guy here, we need to get him to follow us overside. And we need to go all the way back. I think I went the wrong direction, actually. Yep, okay. So we need to get him to follow us back this way. And what's obnoxious, especially if you're trying to do like a race of any kind, is what'll happen sometimes is his AI will bug. And so I'm going to try to get him as close to me as possible because his AI will bug sometimes. And when you cross his threshold, he won't follow you and he'll just start walking backwards to the starting area. And that's super annoying. Like that. He'll start doing that and he'll refuse to actually set foot in the ring that you need him to step into to make him vulnerable to attack. And you have to destroy him so that you can go to the boss room. So it's just super obnoxious. But, right, the fact that you've got a Black Knight cooling her heels right in front of the throne room of the woman whose son that she just took out. Well, not just took out, but, you know, whose son she took out. And obviously, like, right, who's to say that was the assassin that took out Godwyn? But what I mean is that the Black Knights were part of that Knight of Knives. And so it's interesting that you have one just hanging out in front of Marika's throne room. And specifically, the fact that she attacks you when you approach the throne room. There's so much lore you can speculate on that. Like, why is she there? It's similar to the Black Knife who's wounded and just kind of hanging out that you can fight early in the game, I believe in Limgrave. It raises so many questions, and what I can't help but wonder is you've got to take out Radagon to ascend the throne. You know, was the Black Knife there to prevent that from happening? You know, to keep the Wheels of Fate static? Is that her purpose? It's such an interesting thing to consider. Now, the Sainted Hero presumably is this ancient hero of Zamor, which we encounter these guys a lot in, the snowy, consecrated, whatever, the snowfields. And the ones that we fight up to that point are kind of pushovers compared to the actual the elite guys that are hanging out in their actual domain. And when we encounter them, some of the lore that you can... Oh, I thought he was going to do the one where he breathes straight down. Some of the lore that you get from their equipment is that they were this elite fighting force that I believe signed on with America. So when somebody becomes a saint, lock in, steady on.
Steady down.
When you consider somebody that's a saint, it's somebody who they're venerated in a holy manner, right? It's somebody who has done something to be considered a mighty figure. Where's the start of this dungeon? Oh, okay. Let me put a second one here, because this is where we fought the Black Knife Assassin also. It's somebody who's done something to be venerated in a religious manner, right? Where's the next boss I should encounter? The Knights of Zamor that you encounter in the Mountaintop of the Giants area, they just wholesale are so much more vicious than the ones that you encounter earlier, you know, the heroes and such. But it just makes me think, right, like what did this individual do to be considered a saint? And presumably he's being venerated, you know, by America, on orders of America, something on that regard. Please. I don't even need this, but please. You know what? Never mind. I don't even care. Although now I want it because I started it. I have to finish what I started. Never mind. Okay. Thanks for nothing. Okay, well. Moving on. Yeah, 'tis a poor workman that blames his tools, but I feel like the spacing for mounted swings with this weapon is a little obnoxious. That's a dungeon over there, I think. Let's go there, because whatever that is, it has to have a boss fight of some kind, and I can't remember the last time that I've gone down here. I was just going to go to the Shaded Castle, but... And it requires 2 stone sword keys, so it's got to be something neat. Would you go away, please? Old Altus Tunnel. Alright. Yeah, I probably haven't been here in over 1,000 hours, so... we'll discover together what the game has in store for me down here. I should probably spend some money. Let's see, how do we want to level? I've got, 2 whole levels. I'm spoiled for choice. Hold on. Not me forgetting for the millionth time what Envoy's Longhorn uses. Okay, so that should get us to the strength requirement. I mean, we're probably already there because we're in a two-handed thing. I'd like a bit more endurance also. Okay. Let's just see what this dungeon is, because I really have no idea. I mean, obviously not. Let's see if we can make him blow himself up. No such... Right when I'm like, no such luck, then he goes ahead and does it. Alright, is there anything of merit in here, or just the hope that you would walk yourself into an inferno? Okay. Well, I feel like the downy path is probably progress, so let's go up. And let me satisfy my curiosity about another thing real quick. Spiritor Kristoff, an honorable knight of Leyndell, who was also a devout worshipper of the ancient dragons. His skills strike down foes with thunderbolts, the dragon's weapon of choice. After the first defense of Leyndell, Kristoff earned the hero's honor of Erdtree Burial for the feat of capturing Godfrey the Grafted. So, okay, so Kristoff was the venerated hero, not the Zamor knight. And But, right, the boss is an ancient hero of Zamor, so that just makes me even more curious, because what we have is one hero venerated as a saint, and another hero there to stand watch over him, so, you know, to stand vanguard over his eternal slumber. And one of the things that's so fascinating about that concept is, one, right, like, in the various Judeo-Christian belief systems and the Catholic belief system, there's certain specific criteria for sainthood, and one of the criteria is to have performed a miracle of some kind. And there tends to be a decent amount of Judeo-Christian iconography in Miyazaki's titles. There's somebody sneaking up behind me, I'm certain. Yep, okay. there tends to be a decent amount of Judeo-Christian iconography in Miyazaki's titles. More so, I think, in Dark Souls than you see in Elden Ring. Oh, that's not good. But, you know, you can look at things that he's drawn from in the past to kind of get an idea of where his headspace might be in other titles as well. So I am curious, you know, is it considered that Godfrey was so powerful that it was a miracle to have taken him down? And something else to think about with that Godfrey connection, right? After the first defense of Leyndell, heroes honor Virtue Burial for capturing Godfrey the Grafted. So this is interesting also, right? Because everybody has a pretty negative opinion of Godfrey. I heard something fall. Everybody has a pretty negative opinion of Godfrey, right? Kenneth Haidt calls him a great girl's blouse for hiding amongst the women when the siege came and Melania was tearing through. And, you know, when he went to fight... There, I was like, I see something back there. When he went to fight Melania, she just handed him his butt, and he wasn't even worth her killing. And so... then this act of grafting is a craven act. So who's the boss here? Oh, it's another Stone Digger troll. Okay. Right, the act of grafting is a craven act in and of itself. And so we kind of have this idea that those that practice grafting just are continually looked down upon. But even more, right, this implies that, you know, Leyndell, which is where the original round table was, that Godfrey maybe led a rebellion against Leyndell as well. Either way, Godfrey was at odds with Leyndell, which, what's interesting, right, is the Everjails are literally jails, as the name implies. And so Godfrey has been imprisoned all this time. And, you know, finally somebody comes to visit him, and it's the Tarnished to kick his teeth in once and for all. So I think there's just a running theme of this idea of those in that bloodline messing around and finding out. All right, that's interesting. I've not actually looked at that description in some time, so I'd kind of forgotten about that call out. So here's the Shaded Castle, and this is an annoying little region to navigate through. There's a few different ways to get into the castle itself, but I find it's easiest to approach it from kind of this go northwest and then take the northeastern approach. But before we do that, just because it's going to be a fun little lore call out, even though he's not an actual boss fight, we're going to go and battle an NPC invader over here. And I don't think that we're going to do Millicent's questline, but just in case, I'll go ahead and grab what we need for that. But if we go around here, we have Malay Marais, Shaded Castle Castellan. And so I have to wonder if he's out here just kind of biding his time, trying to figure out how to get his castle back. Because Elamir was a prisoner who, you know, broke out, stole a sword, mastered the art with it, right? And took up residence in the Shaded Castle. And so it kind of just makes you wonder, you know, was this person out here just like, all right, how am I going to get my castle back? Let's look at some of their descriptions here. Robed with a black mantle across the shoulders, customarily worn by the head of House Marais, the sons of House Marais are all sickly born. Little wonder that Malay Marais would be so beguiled by the beautiful and fierce goddess who was born into rot. The Marais family has a dual history spanning generations, serving as both executioners and castellans of the Shaded Castle. This mask bears the likeness of the first of their line. So, when we go into the Shaded Castle, what we find is like a collection of okay? Excuse me. What we find is a collection of prosthetics. Were they replacement prosthetics that belonged to Melania? Were they prosthetics that were made in her likeness? Hard to say. We also have a clean rot that's guarding a prosthetic that you can give to Millicent to enable her to fight. There we go, this way. And so it's just interesting, again, considering who all is here and what all is here. and how many people venerated Melania in a way that she seems to have really not wanted, right? And there's a little ambiguity. Did Melania not want to be revered as a goddess full stop? Or did Melania not want to be revered as the goddess of rot? That's a little bit up for debate. But regardless, Melania is suffering a fate. Obviously, she didn't want to be, regarded as the goddess of rot. You've got this idea that from the moment she was born, the god of rot, this cosmic being, looked at Melania when she was born and decided, this is the one who is going to be my avatar and my bride. And so Melania had this horrible fate, this horrible curse visited upon her from jump. And the influence of the god of rot is what causes Melania's body to deteriorate over time, as the rot is tearing through her. And there's this idea that, should she succumb to the rot, should she succumb to her powers, eventually she would have her final rebirth and become, this entity that the god of rot was trying to force her to be all this time. Is such a horrible, horrible fate. And while I won't specifically say what it makes me think of, as this video would be absolutely obliterated by the algorithm for using that language, you can draw the obvious parallel of what's been done to Melania, as a result of the absolute total subversion of her will and any control of her body and spirit, and it just makes Melania, again, just an incredibly tragic figure in the lore of Elden Ring. How close to leveling are we? Do we have any money? I don't think we have enough to get there. We'll just go ahead and play through. So the Shaded Castle, right? We have, again, all these statues that, again, most of the royal families in the Land Between, at least all the ones that we know about for the most part, are matriarchal. So we have all these female statues, and their clothing invokes this sense of prophetess, songstress, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm just one day back into town, so I'm still very logy. Songstress, prophetess, very, very spiritual positions. And it's not uncommon in a lot of cultures for, even patriarchal cultures, it's not uncommon for there to be a venerated female in a position of spiritual education, guidance, and growth. We've got some that are holding books. We have all kinds of things here evoking, and I forgot that you were there. So again, we have this really fascinating, this is a bad weapon for close quarters against walls. Again, we have the Mirai family who venerated Melania, like a goddess, and because of their sickly born, she was kind of the avatar that they look up to and they idolize. And we have Clean Route Knights who were, Melania's special guard. We have some Clean Route Knights in key positions in House Mirai. And so there's some question there, was Melania fully opposed to how she was looked at by the Mirai family? Or were these Clean Rots people that were, kind of soldiers without a home after various wars took place, and so they gravitated towards this place? This is another thing that we'll never really have a clear answer on unless Miyazaki decides to bless us with some knowledge. But consider, again, that everything Miyazaki does, he does for a reason. And that includes the placement of certain enemies in each location. The enemies that you encounter aren't just there to provide a natural sense of progression as you go through, but the enemies that you encounter are specifically also there to tell you something about what's going on in that region. Again, we have this progression here where there's two ways to look at the way that the statues are regarded here, right? On the one hand, the castle itself is falling into disrepair, and these statues are, having been overgrown by nature and overtaken by nature. But it also begs the question, when you look at the way the leaves are draped on these statues, it's not, for one, the statues of the women themselves are in good shape, and for another, the way the leaves drape on them, it's almost like raiment, right? It's almost like somebody gathered up these leaves and laid them on these statues to make these beautiful dresses to venerate these women. And so you can look at it as, this place has fallen into disuse, into disrepair, or you can look at it as somebody, who already, you've got the sickly Mariah, you have the clean rot knights that are dying from the rot. And so there's this beauty in the sense of destruction where, these fall leaves signify the turning of the seasons and the intertwining hand of life and death. And now they're being draped around these women, again, in almost kind of a venerating manner. It's just like somebody found beauty in death and somebody found beauty in decay and decided to adorn these statues in that manner.